Hi, welcome back to Storytime with Dad Booker. Today we're going to continue on with Gods and More Gods. We're getting about midpoint now. And we just read Ash and saw how Don tried to boss Ash around. He can't do it anymore. Ash has become his own man for once. And today Don's going to try and go see what he can do about Larry. So we're doing Larry's Landing again. Larry returned to find that his people had progressed. They welcomed him warmly and were eager to show him the advances they had made. They had spent many evenings discussing the day's work and what they could do to become more productive. The animals were now being held in different portions of the field, ensuring fertility. They had saved the best seeds each time so that what was growing now was at the peak of what could be grown. They had even tried crossbreeding just out of curiosity to see what would happen. Some of the attempts failed, but some were a glowing success. He congratulated them on the progress they had shown. Asking what he could do for them, he was requested to let them continue and to simply be their protector. Larry shrugged and went aloft to his tree stand to keep an eye on things. A man came up to his stand and begged to be allowed to speak to him. Larry had to laugh at the man's eagerness. "Tell you what, let me come down to you." Appearing before the man, he asked his name and occupation. "My God, I am Linus, the fisherman." "Well, Linus, what have you got to show me?" "I can see you have created or found a momentous discovery." The man led the way, almost tripping in his eagerness. He led them to the ocean's edge. Near the shore was a bark canoe. The man explained what he had created and how. The carpenters had cut a large portion of a tree and stripped the bark so that they could make planks. The bark they tossed into the lake. Well, when I saw it beneath the water, I liked the look of it. Pulling it out, I found I could bend it in shape and it wouldn't break. I took some sticks and formed the shape you see it in. I sewed up the front and back with thin strips of wood. My God, it floats! The carpenters used the juice from some of the trees to make the glue. I was given all I could ask for, and I rubbed it all over the inside. Look, my God! The man pushed the canoe into the water, and with a flat board as a paddle, he was able to go far into the water. Larry followed, walking on the water behind the man. The man stopped a far distance from land. Larry stood beside the excited man. "Will it sport too?" Man nodded eagerly. Larry got into the boat and flung the net over. In moments, the man had a fine catch of fish loaded into the boat. "Seems with this, our people will never starve, for we have the bounty of the sea as well as what we have on land." "Well done, my friend. Teach others so that what is caught can be preserved for the winter months." The man rowed back to shore. With a heavily laden boat, Larry created an oar to assist. When they reached the shore, Larry presented the oar to the man, who was delighted with it. "Go and tell the carpenters to save you more of the bark of this size. You are now the Fisher King, and all that concerns the seas will be under your domain." Linus was delighted to be named the Fisher King. He rushed to the carpenters to see about getting more bark and to have them make plenty of oars. Larry wandered over to the carpenters to see what they were up to. One man was on break and had a board attached to several long braided vines of different sizes. These were tied onto a branch. He was tightening and loosening He was tightening and loosening it as he strummed. The man stopped when he saw Larry approach. Larry was intrigued by the man's playing, but decided to give him a hint on other uses he could put it to. "What is this thing you are doing?" The man bowed, ashamed to have wasted his time on a foolish game. "I ask pardon, my God, but I discovered that I could make a pleasant sound when I plucked the cords. I should not be wasting time, though." Larry had the man sit and play some more. Surprised that as God wanted him to play, he played a tune that he had been working on. Larry was pleased. This will be good for people to hear. It will relax them and give them pleasure. The man was in ecstasy that what he had done was not considered a waste of time. "Well, on the contrary, my friend, you have created a very useful tool as well as a musical instrument." Larry and the man brought some wood to where he was working, and Larry created some items that could be used by the man's machines. He showed him how to use a lathe to create bowls, a saw to cut wood, a drill to bore holes. You are now a mechanic, and you will figure out more ways to use your new machine. With time and patience, you may even discover better machines. You will make things happen faster and the more people you teach to use this machine and to create others, the faster work may get done, and you'll have more time to create music. The man ran and got more bored. Excuse me, sorry. The man ran and got more boards and braided vine and soon had a setup all around the tree. He gathered people who were standing around and showed them what a simple creation could do. The fact that it could do so many things inspired people to seek other ways to use it. Larry congratulated the man on his ingenuity. Linus was pleased to have earned his God's praise instead of being admonished for wasting time. He would create other machines that would make this look like a toy. In the long grass, he heard a couple whispering and giggling. Larry approached them and then turned away, figuring they were engaged in intimate discussions. The couple saw Larry through the grass and leapt out bowing. Larry apologized for disturbing them. They brought Larry to where they had been working, forming baskets. We needed a faster way to bring things in from the fields. These can hold more than our arms. Larry commended them on their baskets and asked them to see what else they could make. If you make a long, flat one, you could sleep on that and stay off the ground at night. Take two and put grass between them, and it will be even better. The couple became excited and called in others to assist in making baskets and mats. Little by little, area by area, Larry encouraged their innovation and requested that they continue to come up with new ways to use things they had already had. Adapt what you have so it can do more, and soon you will have new things that can be adapted to. The people were thrilled to discover that anything could be improved, and by combining things others had created, even the simplest items could be made more useful. When they discovered that vines could be made stronger by braiding, they sought stronger materials to braid. Linus saw a mat blown by the wind. When he held it in front of himself, he felt the wind push him back. Larry saw his Fisher King use a mat as a sail and speeding across the water. He learned to turn it so that he could catch any breeze he needed, and with an oar trailing behind in the water, he could relax and steer instead of rowing. Baskets were being lined with mud and straw to seal them. Over the next years, he saw them experiment, create, recreate, and discover new ways to use anything. They came to him for advice, and he would give them the barest hint so that the discovery or creation was credited to them and not himself. Things were progressing at an unprecedented rate. Well, that is until Don made his appearance. Don popped in late one evening. The people were sitting in a natural amphitheater while a trio played on harp, bone flute, and drum. Larry had gone to see Gary for a day. Gary's people had discovered the ability to make wine, and Larry was asked over for a sampling. Don saw what he considered a group of lazy incompetents who were taking their leisure instead of working diligently. He berated them for not being at work. Larry had left Harold in charge, and he approached Don. Who are you that you feel you can order us? We are the people of Larry, our God, and it is he alone who directs us. Don drew himself up to full height, and standing on his toes even increased it a smidge. Well, he may be your God, but I'm his. Bow down before me. He made the fire nearby flame and become a firestorm. People bowed and did reverence. You should not be wasting your time, but should be continually working. Your God has obviously not trained you well. So I will. He directed them to get to their areas and begin producing whatever it was that they had been tasked with. He would come around to tell them what improvements were needed. For the rest of the evening, Don was a stern taskmaster. He berated them over and over for laziness and lack of reverence. Every hour he made them stop and pay reverence to him. Then he would berate them for being behind in production. By morning, they were tired and fed up. When the time came for reverence, they prayed, but not to Don. They prayed to Larry to return. Their God had never felt the prayer call before, and it was like being dragged through a vacuum. One moment he was reveling, drinking a fine wine and laughing, and the next he was sucked back home to his people and appeared near to Don. Don immediately blamed Larry on his people's laziness and lack of progress. He claimed that if they fell behind again, he would have to have Larry removed, and he, Don, would control 2 sections. The people were still in reverence and were powering up Larry with prayer power. Larry began to grow and glow in strength. He grabbed Don by the neck and shook him. His voice bellowed out like thunder. My people are under my protection. You have no authority here. Someone in a small voice told that Don claimed to be Larry's God. Larry laughed and shook Don again. Control your own area and leave my people be. They have progressed further than yours. So get back and see that they are not the cause of our failure. Larry shook Don a final time and then threw him back to his own section. Larry apologized for leaving them at the mercy of Don, but admitted he hadn't expected Don to try and butt in. He set things back to the way his people had been doing things and provided a banquet and entertainment in recompense. He got some wine from Gary's people and added that to the festivities. Next day became a day of rest as Larry had a population with a hangover. He chose some people and taught them to make wine, and he would also have to teach them moderation. All right, next one is Gladys, so that's it for today. Appreciate you being here. I hope you're enjoying these. I look forward to seeing you again. Be good. Be good to yourself. Take it easy. Bye.